back to another episode of Collector's Quest. I'm Tyler here with Johnny. Johnny, what's going on?
Tyler, it's we're moving into the 4th of July weekend, and I've been able to play some Diablo. My wife has, she's taken my son, and they're going off to like a fair, so I just get like some midday Diablo to myself tomorrow and on the 4th, and I'm looking forward to it. So, I'm cruising through the weekend and then right into 2 extra days of weekend, and I'm very excited about it.
Oh, you got the 4-day weekend going on too.
Yes, sir, except it's 5 days.
5-day weekend. You took off Wednesday or Friday?
Friday.
Man,
Friday.
You are just chilling. All right.
I am. Yeah, I'm just like, woo! Got a button-up shirt on. I got a drink with a lot of crushed ice in it. It's Diet Coke, just for all of you who were curious. I know no one was curious, but when you say like, oh, I've got a drink with crushed ice, they're like, what tropical bullshit sugar drink is that guy drinking? And none, because I don't really love alcohol, because I'm a baby. I mean, I just like alcohol just doesn't taste good to me. I wish it did. It does not. Actually, I probably don't wish it did. That's probably a luxury that some people wish they were like alcohol. Blech. That's how I am.
I mean, Johnny, I think like 98% of beers don't taste good, and it just feels like everyone's pretending. Just like, I don't understand. Like, I could drink like a Stella Artois. Give me like a lager or like a Pilsner, which are like the most basic bitch, least like heavy beers with like weird tastes. They're like sweet and easy to drink. All these people are like, oh, fucking IPAs. It tastes like fucking sticking my head into a pile of mud. I fucking love this. They only made 6 of these, 6 cans the entire year. Wow, this is some real high quality shit.
Tyler, it's funny that you say you feel like people are pretending, because I feel that way about a lot of things. It's totally wrong think. But I'm like, there's no way that people love coffee this much, and sushi and cigarettes. And I'm like, how? This makes no sense. All these things taste horrible. They just taste, and like alcohol, I'm like, beer especially, I'm just like, all of this tastes like garbage in your mouth. How the fuck is this happening?
See, I know the IPA people aren't lying, even though like IPAs and like 98% of beers and like all alcohol beyond beers, like fucking like whiskey, like get the fuck, what are we talking about here? That's just like fire garbage. But I love coffee. Like I want like black, bitter, awful coffee. So I like grapefruit, and people are like, grapefruit, what the fuck?
See, I like a grapefruit. I like grapefruit, fine. And for all of you people who are just like, oh, that's a hot take from Johnny. No. You guys are all normal, and I'm the weirdo. I get that. I understand that I'm coming from the weird place. Like, I think coffee smells good. I'm like, oh, that smells good. And then it goes in your mouth, and you're just like, why? Betrayal. How did this happen?
Betrayal.
Oh, yeah. It's just like, get out of it. How do you smell so good and taste so bad? Get out. And then when people describe coffee as earthy, I'm just like, get out. Earthy? Ugh.
So I don't understand flavor notes. People are like, oh, the licorice and the plum. And then you taste it and it's like, it tastes like coffee. You gotta be like some kind of savant to like figure out what these words mean. Oh, it's a very rounded flavor. Excuse me, sir. We're talking about the flavor of a food and you compared it to a shape.
Yeah.
What?
People who do the wine as well. Look, you guys love wine? Cool. Also, a thing that I hate wine so much. And I don't know if that was just like from going to church when I was younger and like them being like, the blood of Christ. And you're like, spit? Ew, that's disgusting. Why would I drink someone's blood? That's weird. Whole other thing. But also just like the wine is terrible. And I know like people are like, oh, well, it's bad wine. And then I go to like a wine tasting and there's like a fancy wine. And they're like, this is a $70 a bottle. And you're like, okay, I don't care. And then they're like, at my work, we had $500 bottles of wine. Because they had like this special winery come and they were like having us taste it. And you know what, Tyler? The $2 wine and the $500 wine all tasted just like bad in my mouth. It was all just like, I wish this was grape juice. I just wish it was grape juice. Why is this happening to me?
All right, I don't know why we're getting off on like a complete alcohol tangent, but I did have one very expensive bottle of wine once at a work event in Vegas, and like I had it, and like the whole mood. We're in a fancy restaurant, and there were like people around me that like knew about alcohol and stuff, and it was like the best glass of wine that I ever fucking had. And it could have been just that like I knew like the psychological effect, like, oh, this is an expensive bottle of wine, I better really enjoy this. But it worked. Whatever the psychological thing was, it worked, and it was the best glass of wine I ever had. So,
well, I'm glad. So I lied my ass off while I was there. When people were like, isn't this great? I'm like, this is really good. Mm-mm. I mean, what am I going to say? I'm like, no, I'm a child and this tastes like trash. Can I have my apple juice, please? Like, get out of here, Johnny. Like, no one wants to hear that from me. Yeah, I was at one wine tasting because my friend like did one of these scams, former friend. And then he was like, oh yes, this one has notes of leather and tobacco. And I was just like, why would I drink any of that? What are you talking about? Why? I'm like, so that sounds like, I'm like, so someone like poured their wine on the bottom of someone's shoe is what you just is describing to me? This is horrible. Why would I want that in my mouth?
I went to a wine tasting like that with like a Groupon. Like we were just looking for something to do, and like it came up on Groupon, and they gave us like a PowerPoint presentation with like maps, like rainfall maps of Europe, and everyone like it's just a bunch of idiots who are just like, I want to get drunk and eat cheese. And like we're all just like sitting here watching this PowerPoint about rainfall maps in Europe. Like, oh, Tuscany, huh? Wow, very interesting.
Did they
like,
do
can
like
we
the
drink
bullshit?
the wine now?
Yeah. Yeah, you're like, that's cool. Those are different than California grapes. Can I drink it now? Yeah, I'm always like, they do the like the pairings too, and they're like, now try it with this dark chocolate. I'm like, dude, I don't want to ruin this fucking chocolate with wine. Like, get out of here. Can I just like, oh yeah. They're like, here's this good thing. Put the wine in your mouth now, and it won't taste as bad. That's how I felt about it.
Johnny, speaking of collectible drinks, I just sold a coffee grinder on eBay for over $200. And it was like, it's an expensive coffee grinder, but it's not that it was an expensive coffee grinder. It was a collectible coffee grinder. I had two people message me after I put this up for sale and ask if I would end the auction early. And one of them was like, I'm an orphan espresso coffee collector. I want this grinder. Will you end the auction early? And then another person messaged me and asked if I had the fucking manual. The manual for my coffee grinder.
And you did, right?
No, I don't have the manual for my coffee grinder. So
you don't have a random drawer in your house with every manual that came with everything ever? No. That you clean out like 10 years later and you go, we don't even own this anymore. Why do we still have the manual?
I don't need a manual to know how to turn a crank. So the thing is, this coffee grinder, it was a coffee grinder that was basically like right before there was like this coffee boom and there's all these amazing grinders that hit the market. Like some guy made this in his garage with all these amazing high quality components, but the actual process of using it is complete dog shit. It's like the worst coffee grinder that has ever been made, but it's also completely overbuilt. It's the equivalent of, there was like a $600 juice machine where all it was a $600 fucking thing that pressed a bag of juice and squeezed the juice out. And it was like this amazing machine that did something it totally didn't need to do. You could just squeeze that bag of juice with your hands. But it's the coffee grinder equivalent of that thing, like a complete piece of shit that doesn't need to exist. But apparently people collect it. And I think that's fascinating. I love you guys out there in the coffee collecting world.
You got 200. This is just proof that people collect anything. People collect everything and anything.
The fact, like, I understand, like, because it is a usable thing, and it is, even if it's dog shit, like, made of high quality components, and it would make good coffee. Like, it's a usable thing, so I understand why people would pay for it in that sense. But for someone to ask me for the fucking manual for, like, their collection, like, whoa, that's
great. That's great.
And like, I'm already someone very familiar with like people collecting really weird shit. Did not expect someone to ask me for the manual to my grinder.
So, and you said you got 200, right? That's how much you got for it. And how much did you buy it for, though?
It was like 230 or something. Yeah, I wasn't like profiting on this, but
okay, well, like if it's collectible, I didn't know like how far that went. Like people are just buying them and just like they're just relieved to find one, or if it had got to the point where it's like, oh shit. The minute it comes out and now it's gone, it's $500 when it used to be $200. I didn't know what kind of collectible it was.
Like I'm selling it because it's completely unusable. Like it adds literally like 5 to 10 minutes to the coffee process that does not need to exist. When you grind the coffee, there's nowhere for it to go. It just sits in the bottom of this all metal grinder and there's a little plug on the bottom and you shake the entire like 5 to 7 pound grinder over your filter. It's fucking ridiculous. It's really poorly designed. It's unusable. Anyway, Johnny, before we go off on talking about drinks for too long.
I mean, it's only 11 minutes. We're all right.
Okay. I would say it's a good time to buy coffee grinders because you are spoiled for choice, including on like whatever price point you want, Johnny. You could spend $100 in a grinder. You could spend $3,000 in a grinder. What a great time to buy coffee grinders.
Oh, so you think that the market is so fluid right now and that you could just go buy anything and you're probably doing okay?
I don't think you could buy anything. Why are we talking about this seriously, Johnny? Oh, okay. You're trying to transition to games and saying you should buy any game. I get it.
Okay,
Kinda.
thank you.
All right. Never mind. I missed the transition, Johnny. I think
if we're good at anything, it is fucking up a transition. Have we ever nailed a transition?
Johnny, I was writing a forum post on Video Game Sage about how I think it is perhaps a good time to buy video games. And when I hit the fourth paragraph, I'm like, no one's going to read this forum post, but hey, there's a lot of stuff here. Why don't I just make this a Collector's Quest episode? And that's why we're here. I think it's a good time to buy video games.
It's funny. It's like, oh man, I would have to write a TLDR on this. No one's going to read it. It would take them like 5 minutes. But 3 hours of podcast, I'm in.
Yeah, I got to do this every 2 weeks. I got a topic that I already like wrote an outline for. Perfect.
Well, that's very funny to me. That's very funny. I mean, especially because we had like that sports card episode or sports game episode, like pretty note heavy already.
So we got that, and then also I said, I'm pretty sure last episode that this episode would be a Famicom Rarities episode, and now we've kind of got like 2 episodes already outlined, so that Famicom Rarities episode is getting pushed back a little.
It's coming. It's coming.
It's okay.
It'll be here.
People love, no matter, like, you could have no expertise, you could know nothing, you could just literally just be predicting the future by, like, pulling things out of a hat, and people will listen to you, be like, oh, what's the future of the market, I wonder. So people are going to click this episode. It's going to be great, Johnny.
Okay. All right. This is The Market is Euphoric Part 2.
What was that Market is Euphoric episode? Was that like a 2021 episode where just like everything is crazy?
Yeah, where everything was insane and just like buy everything. You can't miss free tendies for everybody.
Yes. So, I mean, the market is probably the highest it's ever been because it obviously peaked in 2021. Like we had like crazy sales. Like we're talking like $1.5 million Super Mario fucking 64 and $100,000 okay condition Tomb Raider. You know, all that stuff, all of it is 2021 and the market has come down since then. But the things that took the biggest hits were like high-end sealed games that had no business selling for like hundreds of thousands of dollars or tens of thousands of dollars.
You mean have come down to
somewhat more reasonable
predictable things? You know, everything that looked like, oh my God, that's insane. And like from a collector's point of view, from seasoned collectors when they went, yeah, this doesn't, how? All those games fell. That's weird.
So that stuff fell, but I still think most people would look at an Earthbound, a Crusader of Senti, a Little Samson cartridge, a Clay Fighter Sculptor's Cut cartridge, my favorite. And they're still expensive, and they're still about as expensive as they've ever been. And it just, I saw a post on Reddit Game Collecting where people were complaining like, how come the market hasn't crashed yet? I thought everyone knows Watto manipulated the market, and I thought we're supposed to be in a down market right now, so why is X game still $400 or something? And it's like, the crash has happened, but you weren't buying the stuff that crashed to begin with. Like, you weren't buying sealed fucking Pokemon games for $100,000. So when those crashed, you didn't notice because you're not in the market for that, because like 6 people are in the market for that. That's why that market can crash so easily. But
I mean, and we did say that. We did warn people.
Yeah.
We were like almost right on that. We'll see how long that holds up. Now that I said we were right about it, give it a month and it's going to turn over.
Yeah, we're not right about anything. So, I mean, You should probably just take this episode and like probably sell everything you own, because we're always wrong when we predict the future.
Yep.
Anyway, I think there is some uncertainty, and the prices are, if they're not the highest they've ever been, close to the highest they've ever been. I'm still saying it's a good time to buy, Johnny. Okay, I don't care. I don't think we're going back to 2019, and we're certainly not going back to 2008 every time people have hoped for prices to come back to what they used to be, it has never happened. And I'm not saying because we've always gone up, we will always go up. But you know what? There's never been a huge correction in the cartridge or complete in box market, ever. There's never been like a major correction. We've only had like slight dips and plateaus.
Okay, so let's talk about something. So just a couple of points I want some clarity on. So you think that everything like things are at an all-time high, but you mean basic collectibles. We're not talking about the sealed arena. We're talking about basic CIB collectors and cart collectors.
Kind of everything, because sealed has come down so much that like it might be the time to buy some of that stuff now. Okay,
so you think a good time to buy sealed, but it's not the highest sealed stuff has ever been. Clearly that stuff is retracted.
Oh yeah, sealed has retracted the most of anything, yeah. So I think cartridge, I'm never going to recommend buying a cartridge at this point. I think cartridges are too expensive. They're both too expensive and too expensive for what they are in most cases. So unless you're buying something like a Super Mario Brothers or a Castlevania where the complete in box premium is already astronomical, like a cartridge just isn't worth it in most cases, I think. For like Castlevania, okay. I get it. It makes sense. For Castlevania 64, I'm not going to look it up, but if it's like 3 times the price for complete in box over cartridge, just get a complete in box.
That's usually what it is. It's usually 3x the price of the card is the CIB.
And like I just talked about in the last episode, I don't think that premium's high enough. I hate to hype things, but like that premium is not high enough for how many cardboard boxes there are compared to how many plastic cartridges there are.
Yes, CIBs should be more expensive. We agree.
So before I go into the reasons for my hypothesis here, I do want to say I don't think that you should buy everything like Crusader of Senti and Earthbound, for example, like games that are already like, $3,000 right now. I'm not saying like, oh, it must be a great time to buy them. The market is theoretically down. But I do think it's a great time to find good deals to buy, especially things that people maybe aren't looking for. So, point 1, Johnny, the price charting, the price websites are a fucking mess, and they have been for a long time. And I still think we're at a point where people trust price charting when, like, you should not trust price charting at all. Like, I used to use it as, like, a baseline reference, but, man, like, even that, it feels, like, pretty iffy. They've got missed sales. They've got wrong sales, like, just completely the wrong thing. And they're mixing incomparable data. Like, variants, games that are in good condition with games that are in bad condition. Like, everything just gets mixed up into loose and CIB, and these days it just doesn't make sense to do that, especially with the condition premiums we're seeing. Like, in 2008, when price charting came on the scene, like, there was no condition premium for anything, and that has completely changed, and price charting is useless, basically.
Well, I think it's still good to look at price charting, just so you know what other people are going to come off with. I don't think you should. I don't think it's facts, right? Like, but I do think that enough people still quote it that you should know where they're going to come from.
I think price charting anchors prices downward. I think when there's like a really nice, not for like your copy of Legend of Zelda or something, a copy of Legend of Zelda on NES just sold for $2,000, and the only thing nice about it was the box. But for the average game, Bomberman 2, kind of uncommon game, not really average, but I bet a super nice Bomberman 2 doesn't sell for more than double whatever price charting says, just because price charting says that it's that, even if it's like the nicest copy on planet Earth. Just because people are like, oh, it says it's worth $200. I'm not going to spend $400. That would be crazy.
We've always criticized that as a problem with any of these sites, is that this is all just averaging everything to a mean, right? A median number, where you're just like, oh, if you averaged all the numbers, it would be this, but that is not considering condition. It's not factoring completeness. It doesn't take into account things like baggies and reg cards and posters. It's just like, it's a box, manual, and carton. These are the average prices there. So even your average is going to trend low because of that, like just those factors. And then you topple condition on there. And it's just not going to happen. It also doesn't tell you the number of sales. I wish it contextualized its price by like putting it in a big number, 5 sales in the last like 3 years or something to let you know what's really happening there.
Yeah. And to be clear, I'm not saying that people don't know that like a nice condition game is worth more than what price trading says a game with the posters and registration card is worth more. Like those do sell for premiums, but once a price website figures it out and calculates like, okay, we have 1,700 points of data for complete in box Chrono Triggers that have sold over the past 10 years. This is exactly how much people spend more for a registration card. Once they can make it that granular, like you won't be able to find deals anymore. Like it'll be too easy to determine what things are worth when you could much more easily right now find things that slip through the cracks because there isn't like the Chrono Trigger registration card doesn't have like a set value. It kind of depends who's looking at the auction. Whereas if there was a website that told you like exactly breaking down components of games, what each component is worth, and I know price trading tries to do that, but they fail. Like it'll be much harder to find a deal on it.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I mean, also, the minute you put a price out there, then it becomes a known quantity and people want to fight around that price without regard to whether that is real or correct. Anyways, it's a published price and by God, they'll live and die by it.
Yeah. Game value now is dead. Like whatever. So that was one more point of like bad data that was helping you because game value now had like outdated data that wasn't updating and that might have helped keep prices down. But the thing is, a lot of people have recognized that this is a huge problem in the video game collecting market. We've got all these startups. We've got Minty.gg. We've got Gamerstonks.com. That's just catering to the sealed market. GoCollect.com. For all the meme that Go Collect is, they are a video game price tracking database. I don't know how updated they are, but that is like one of the things that website does. They do it much better for comics, but they do track video game sales. None of them figured it out. Games are just way too complex, as we're talking about things like components, registration card condition. Right now, there isn't a way to do it. The problem is, and this is kind of the overarching theme of the whole episode, once someone figures it out, the only thing that's going to happen is the games you want will be more expensive. Once someone figures out how to crunch all this data and can use it to isolate things like underpriced things or like auctions that have some special component that is too low for what it's worth, it's going to be way harder to find deals when someone figures it out. And there are multiple companies right now like looking at data and pulling in stuff from the eBay API and trying to figure it out. And I'm not saying they're going to figure it out in the next 2 years, but fucking 10 years from now, 15 years from now, I don't think we're going to be living in the world of price charting and like some weird startups that only track some games. I think someone will potentially have figured out how to track video game sales data.
AI, Tyler. AI is already here.
Fucking
it's
AI.
coming.
We're going to have AI looking at things and be like, oh, this has the poster in it. Oh, this has the registration card in it. Like, yes, exactly.
Yeah, like we're already here. The danger is already there. The other thing that and here I was going to put this tip out at the end of the episode just as like a random gamer tip. But if you want to be a better collector and know if you're getting complete stuff, this sounds asinine, but it's stay with me here. It's a real easy thing to do, and we've all failed to do it. If you just read a box completely, like if you buy a game, read the front of the box. Does it have like a little like weird promo sticker on the front that says comes with something? And then read the back of the box and be like, oh, does it say it comes with a card or a special button or pin or any dumb thing that may not be even bolded? It might just have it as a bullet point under the exciting things about the game. Just doing that, reading every like complete box you get will make you a better collector because suddenly you will know a lot of games that come with weird random inserts. And AI is already going to be here doing that, and they're going to start to call it out. Or if you know of games that have weird components that you're after, the days of it just slipping by and I found the guy who didn't understand that this was a rare piece and it was just in there. Those days are ending. The sun is setting on this.
Yeah, and like if you think like, oh, AI is stupid, it can't do that right now, it's way too complex to program, stuff like that. Like 15 years ago, like smartphones were invented. So imagine in another 15 years where AI will go from now to, whatever comes in 15 years, if the world still exists and we haven't all been killed.
Tyler, AI can already read basic pictures. They already have facial. There's so much that AI already does. Asking it to like read boxes and like analyze a bunch of data that's just picture data from eBay under like certain conditions. That's not hard work. This could already be done. In fact, if it's not already done, I don't understand what's happening. That just means the people who want to do it just haven't got to doing it yet because it's already possible.
All right, I agree. It's gonna be crazy. Like, so we got these startups, like these gamer stonks, these minty websites. Like, I can't like. We must be not that far away from someone claiming to use like AI to do the same exact thing. There's going to be some AI startup for video games. I don't know in what capacity, but I mean, AI startups, they just get money now. So it'll happen.
I mean, you could be Minty or Gamer Stonks that just like, oh, I worked with an AI developer. Now it does this. Now we have all this data. Like, those are the companies that want the data because they're the ones who are going to make the money off of it. So,
yeah. All right, Johnny, this is kind of, this goes hand in hand with how we don't have good price data. Variant data is a mess. And man, do we talk about this all the time. And it's the same thing. Variant data is just not figured out. And yes, there are people and there are sources that are very good for variant data. But as a whole, video games are not figured out. And one day, they mostly will be. There will be a website. There will be a catalog. It'll be the Wada Pop report that's like 100% complete. Whatever it is, one day learning about variants will just be like super easy. Someone off the street will be able to pick up a book and just read, you know, the 13 American Sonic the Hedgehog variants. And yes, you might be thinking like, well, I've already seen like a document posted on Facebook where someone goes over the Sonic the Hedgehog variants. But the thing is, you downloaded that document from a Facebook group. And yes, the majority of people who care about that right now are probably in that Facebook group. But the average person can't just like open up a book and be like, what are all the Faxanadu variants? It's just not a thing right now. And it will be one day, especially for NES, Johnny. But
well, and again, this is another thing that AI is coming for, right? Like all the back of the boxes. Like if you just put it in there and said, all right, here's 1,000 pictures of Super Mario Brothers, the back of a Super Mario Brothers box. Please detail everything that is said here and then tell me all the variants. And then, you know, then start isolating from there. That's already going to happen because people think of like big variants, but a lot of the dumb variants come like just in the way that people have tackled NES. Oh, this is a TM, this is an R, this one has a different street. This like they updated their mailing address on the back. This one has it. All of that is there, and those are variants that people aren't even thinking about, but it's going to further identify prints and the length of print runs, and you know it once it's out there, people will find a way. Once something has a variant or seems more obscure or more rare, the minute someone publishes something about that and says, hey, this is rare, try to find it, it just brings people to it, and then the money will come for those items.
Yeah. And see, I'm not saying there aren't good sources. So
no, there are some.
The Wada Pop report, even if you don't care about sealed games, it lists like every game for the platforms that they list games for. And there's all sorts of like fucking weird variants that you won't know exist that will be detailed in the Pop report because they break it down by variant.
Or
apparently we're thanking Dan Gomez for this because Dan Gomez is a weird variant guy. So we love him.
He's one of us. One of us.
One of us.
But,
yeah.
But I mean, also all the weird inserts that people don't understand are or aren't in games. Like you start to see those get listed. And this is like a thing when people said I was like a big Wada shill. Like I'm like, no, like they're going to provide, they're going to bring us data, whether you like it or not. It's going to be there. And it is, if you can, even if you hate it, like I know, like I understand why you hate it. I understand. But if you want the information, you're going to have to, you know, collectively make a deal with the devil and then just go to their website and then look at all that sweet information.
So the thing is, Wada isn't publishing absolutely everything they know, and they never will because like that data is so valuable. Them being the company that knows everything or whatever, that's their competitive advantage. They don't want, you know, CGC going and stealing all their data. So they're never going to publish like a book telling you exactly everything. Here's what it is. Here's pictures of everything. They want you to just submit your games and you can like, you know, be confident that they'll get it right, sort of. So we can't count on grading companies to do this for us. And like, you've got Braveheart posting on social media. Here's the 14 Clue Land variants. I posted a missed variant guide on Video Game Sage. There's GameBoyDatabase.com, which is really great just for Game Boy. Maybe a little incomplete. But there's no one source for everything. And the thing is, it maybe not for everything, but every other hobby has like the fucking source or multiple sources. Stamps, coins, magic cards, Pokemon cards, Johnny name a collectible. All of them have it better figured out than us.
Coffee grinders.
Coffee grinders, maybe. I don't know. Maybe that's a little bit too niche. But
wine.
All this stuff, especially for the collectibles with like speculative and investing markets, they have both professional and crowdsourced databases. And you know what? I constantly hear people talking about it. I've heard there's multiple Video Game Sage members who have talked basically about replacing Nintendo Ace. They're like, we're going to have a new database. It's going to be crowdsourced, and we're going to have everything. We're going to have all the date codes. We're going to have all the inserts. We're going to just document everything. Hasn't happened yet. I don't know when it's going to happen, Johnny. 10 years from now, there will be a video game database that has most of the information I'm talking about.
And it will be written by AI, Tyler.
And the more, like, information is great. Information tells you what's interesting, tells you what to collect. But if you're like one of these guys who's in the know, if you're reading all the weird posts on Facebook that have this info, if you're one of the guys who have saved a PDF that has the Sonic the Hedgehog variants or something, you are like in the elite people in the know. If you're listening to the Collector's Quest podcast, you're one of like the people who really care about this stuff. And 10 years from now, someone off the street will just be able to pull up a spreadsheet and be like, okay, this is the one I want. And all right, I guess I should spend $150 for that variant because that's the cool one. And there's stuff like that just doesn't have premiums now that I think you need to go get right now.
Okay. I mean, this is something I've widely done forever. Just like, oh, what's this dumb variant? Like, let's keep buying all the weird, dumb stuff. And it's still not well documented, and there's still just not that many people that passionate about it. So, well, the question though is, once all of this information gets out, do you worry that maybe the boon of information will then shift because people will realize, oh, maybe this stuff isn't rare, or maybe stuff is more common than we thought, and people have just been withholding of information, and now we know more, so we know not to buy? Do you think that is the thing that could happen? Just that's a hypothetical for you.
I don't think so. I mean, I think if anything in like the sealed market, the way like pop reports have gone, I think most people look at those numbers and say like, yeah, all right, there might be hundreds of Super Mario Brothers 3, but other people look at like, I don't know, what's a stupid game? Like Daydream and Davy, and there's like 2 of those. I think the more you like slice and dice things down, it makes it look like there's not a lot of anything. If I was tracking Temple of Apshai variants. This is
Collector's Quest favorite Temple of Apshai.
Yeah.
The only podcast that will continually talk about this fucking game.
It's an early computer RPG. You don't care about it. It's fine. There's early copies of it on like Apple II and TRS-80. And if you tracked eBay sales, you might see like, this is a baggy game. Like before games came in cardboard boxes, the earliest copies.
The price doesn't matter though. The price of that game doesn't matter. If you're one of the weirdos who wants it, you're just paying whatever because it's available.
You're saying like, are people going to think this stuff is more common once we start like tracking variant data of this? Like if you start looking at, this is just like a random, somewhat common game, but if you started tracking everything, everyone would see like, oh, 400 copies of Temple of Apshai came up, and 2 of them were the baggy versions on Apple II and TRS-80. And there's like 1 of each of those that showed up in a 2-year period. I don't know. I think that it's going to point out rare and interesting variants a lot more than it's going to show you that variants are more common. In general, I think video games are less popular, and some of the interesting stuff is there's a lot less of it out there than a hobby like fucking Pokemon cards, where there are tens of thousands of perfect condition Charizards. Like there's so much of that shit out there, and people still buy it. And for some of this, like, especially older video game stuff, and I know I'm saying it, especially older computer game stuff, before video games were even, like, a popular thing, like, this stuff's just not out there. And I think that people shining a light on what is interesting in there could, if, like, multiple people start going for that, there's no supply of some of this stuff.
Okay.
And I'm not like Super Mario Brothers exists. Super Mario Brothers 3 exists. And you might think that that's the only thing that's cool. But even like Atari games, Johnny, There's some interesting Atari. I don't like smash hit Atari games. Like, I don't think there's enough adventures to go around. There's enough adventures to go around.
I tend to agree with you, but I wanted to ask the question.
Okay.
So just to see where your head was on this, because that's what people are going to say. Oh, well, you're going to find out that none of this stuff you thought was rare is rare. And that's where people are going to go. But what you're going to find out is there's a lot of stuff that no one has even seen before. And if we've talked about this, but if you look at pop reports for video games and then you compare it to another popular hobby like comics, and you look at the pop reports there for like what a comic goes for in that range versus like, and then add top on the conditional rarity, you're going to be sad at how low the pop for sealed games is, and even CIB games.
I mean, a lot of people came in from cards and comics, and they look at the sealed game pop reports, a hobby that I realize has existed, but basically has existed for like 2 years at the time they were looking at it, because it essentially all started in 2019 is when things got crazy. So yeah, obviously the pop reports are super low, but I'm bringing up the pop report for Hulk 181, which is like a comic at the top of its age of comics. Hulk 181, a comic everyone wants. A comic that is expensive. A comic that sells for over $20,000 in a 9.6, Johnny.
Yep,
sells for over $10,000 in a 9.2. Okay? Fucking 17,000 graded copies.
It's a lot.
17,000? Are we even, like, if we could probably pull together 17,000 copies of Super Mario Brothers 3. But, like, how many video games out there? I mean, this is the Super Mario Brothers 3 of comics, so that's kind of a weird example. But, like, some of these fucking comics and cards have, like, absurd population counts. And when I look at, like, some video games I want, like video games that I have save search for, and I can't find any copy of them that come up, it's just like, I look at these card and comic pop reports and I'm like, man, there must be a lot more comic and card collectors than video game collectors, because these games or these books and these cards that have like absurd numbers out there still sell for thousands of dollars. And the concept of any video game selling for thousands of dollars is still pretty novel and new.
It is, but I don't think it will be forever.
Probably. What I'm saying is that your average condition Super Mario Brothers 3 is going to be worth $1,000, and you should buy it, Johnny.
No, all right. There, you heard it here on Collector's Quest. Super Mario 3 going to a G. You should buy it. What else you got? Well, you got some other facts in here, but I'm curious. It feels like a lot of what you're saying is this. This feels like very much 2008, where you're saying, the knowledge isn't great. There's no pricing websites. Only a select few know what's actually going on. The market can easily be, taken advantage of. You can really buy to your advantage right now, like you could in 2008. Even though, and this is what a lot of people forget about 2008. 2008 was a boom, and people said video games got too expensive in 2008. It was like still a boom time. But that was to me, that was a little different in that most people were only looking at Nintendo, like NES. I feel like now collecting, I feel like, to your point, I think collecting right now, the doors are off of collecting. It's not just NES. Still, yes, a lot of focus there, but people are buying more and varied stuff, including a lot more modern. Modern stuff is more collectible than I can even fathom. I don't really understand.
Past 5 years, Johnny, 2020, I was buying GameCube, and I was like thinking to myself, man, no one's ever going to care about fucking GameCube. And look at fucking GameCube. That was like less than 5 years ago.
And see, I'm saying modern, that's not even modern anymore, Tyler. Like, people are hard collecting Switches. They're just grading Switch games right out of the...
They're grading Switches. They buy a Switch off the shelf, and they'll just grade a Switch.
Yeah, well, that's the other thing. The very limited print runs of Switch games Switch is a weird collectible. Anyways, I'm saying lots of people, the doors are off, like I was saying. There is more to collect. Like in 2008, we didn't have a lot of good information, but it was a very kind of narrow search, and some people did have information. Now, like the gulf there between what is collectible has opened. It's a giant expanse full of garbage now, when before it was like a very small hole. So I don't know how long it's going to take all this to get together, but I think you are right in the sense that anything could be a good buy right now. You could go out, if you know what you're looking for, and if you make yourself an expert on a console and you're looking for the weird variants or the best versions of things, now is the time, because that information gap is going to close. And even though the gulf is bigger than it's ever been, as far as what is considered collectible, you know, the rate at which that is going to shrink is going to be, I think, faster than ever.
Yeah, and I think in terms of just these first 2 points where our price data is a mess and our variant data is a mess, there is still, like, I realize, like, yes, sealed games have crashed, the graded market's a mess. There are still people with, like, huge bags that are trying to make video games a more prominent collectible and show some $1 million sale on golden auctions, whatever people try to do. I don't know how market manipulation works. But those people have a very vested interest in making this data, making the interesting things more known, making sales data more easily accessible. So people who aren't actually interested in video games can go and just look at a spreadsheet and see, like, oh, okay, pop reports, price data, completeness. And you don't need to know anything about video games. You can just buy the best stuff. And you could already do that with comics. You just go in a comic database. You're like, all right, what's the first appearance of Wolverine? Oh, it's Hulk 181. Great. I'm just going to get that in a 9.8 because the pop report says that there's only 300 of those. And, like, you could just go and you don't even need to care who the fuck Wolverine is. And it's hard. It's harder right now for video games, but Johnny, I'm just going to say it won't be forever.
No, it's closing fast. I know people are in general are like, I'm tired of like harping on AI, but like people are like, oh, scared of AI and how weird it is. But I don't think they understand like just how efficient, even though like, oh, people come back with, oh, AI still makes a lot of mistakes and all this. The amount of stuff that AI can just simply get right, the large volumes of stuff it can get right, is still staggering. And I think people also forget that humans get shit wrong at a far higher rate than AI. So just like, you know, just know that it's out there and it's coming for your data and it's going to make somebody money. So might as well be you. Might as well be you.
Johnny, my next point is I think people think they know more than they know. Ourselves included. I think everybody thinks that they are better at figuring out all this shit. And like, we don't have to harp on variants again.
You mean as I went on my 5-minute rant about AI?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh,
I think like people, and we've complained about this, but people go around and say, I have a 5th print of Super Mario Brothers. And it's like, I bet of just the matte sticker sealed Mario Brothers, there are more than 5 quote unquote variants. When you really look at components and chips and like things like that, if you really want to just like super deep psychotic into it. So Wata published like the black box spreadsheet in 2019, and I think they've since taken that down. But everybody looked at that and they like immediately were like, I'm a black box expert. But that was not like 100% correct. That did not have every variant on it. Not even in like Tyler cares about chip date codes, he's psychotic. There were inaccuracies and missing games, like missing variants on that spreadsheet that have been corrected by other prominent collectors. So
Tyler, they called it the definitive black box list.
They sure did.
Wata's definitive black box list. I just don't know why you would tempt fate like with such naming, with such an aggressive name.
I mean, to be clear, the spreadsheet that they put out, it did say things like this probably exists, we just don't know yet. And I'm sure they've, collected much, much better data over the past.
I know. It just, the naming, like it's just when like people come out and say, I'm 100% certain. You're just like, it's, it's the Titanic. Oh, it's unsinkable. You're just tempting fate. You're tempting fate when you give things monikers like that. And then when it blows up in your face, people don't feel bad for you. They just like see, they get the I told you so's instead of having any empathy.
Johnny, people think what's on top will always be on top. And I can prove this because fucking Crusader of Senti still sells for $3,000. And you're like, I'm not saying that it won't always be a top Genesis game or the top Genesis game, but the people spending $3,000 on a Crusader of Senti sure think that that's always going to be the Grail Genesis piece.
Tyler, well, let's talk a little bit more about that. Crusader Senti was not always the top game. It's only recently, like kind of recently, in the last, 7 years, become the top game. Before it was Musha, and it was always Musha. And everybody thought nothing could dethrone Musha. And then Crusader Senti was like, oh, here I am.
Well, have you heard about stadium events? And now there's probably some Mario has sold for, I'm sure, $80,000 complete in box or something.
Yeah. Yes, I mean we've talked about it. Yeah. There are things, especially if what happens, if what you're predicting happens, and more data becomes available, then new rarities will rise up out of the sea, and they will come for the thrones of these long rested top games that have just been, resting on their laurels.
Doesn't need to be rarities. Changing tastes, changing interests in the collector market. Johnny, the king of the Bronze Age is Hulk 181, which is the opposite of a rare comic book, but a nice condition one can sell for 20 grand. All it needs to happen is people say, like, who cares about Crusader Senti? I've never heard of that game. Let's make Sonic 2. That's a terrible example, but I don't know. Changing tastes will change the market. And I think, like, a great example is Hagane, which went from, like, upper tier uncommon to absolute top of the SNES library. There will be more changes like that, and I guess anticipate them.
Yeah, well, and the changes I think will be more driven by data, not like some YouTuber saying like, oh, this is an obscure game. Like I just think the days of like hidden gem videos is I'm not going to say it's over, but I definitely think it's going to have to shift tact.
I think, data, I think is a big one. And I think thinking about if somebody looked at a console, if we're going to break everything up by console, if somebody looks at that console library and has zero connection to that console, what are the games that are going to interest them? And it might be the expensive games that are already expensive. That happens a lot. It might be the numerically rarest games, or it could be historically interesting games. Like, if someone just looks at NES, nothing is probably going to draw them immediately to Panic Restaurant or Nobunaga's Ambition 2. But they're probably going to be drawn to, like, Metroid. And if you just look at the data, Metroid is not a rare game. Metroid is not the most expensive game, but Metroid is one of the most important games. So, like, if someone tells me in 20 years, all of a sudden Metroid is, like, this top 15 game in the NES library, I'd be like, yeah, that makes a lot of fucking sense. A lot more fucking sense than Little Samson and Panic Restaurant being in the top 15 of the NES library.
I mean, and never underestimate pop culture's ability to move the needle. If we look at comics, look at every time a Marvel movie comes out and they bring in a character who, was just in some obscure comic and then suddenly is being highlighted in a movie. What happens to that? Just blows up. So, it just... once that starts to move over, I just think you'll start to see more pop culture stuff move as well. You know me, I've always been on the pop culture train. Ride the properties.
Sure.
Known quantities.
Johnny, all right. There are so kind of going on, like, if someone who doesn't have any connection to a console library looks at it, what are the things they're going to be interested in? If they have the data and if they have, like, information about the games. I'm just going to say, again, forever, like always, historical games are not the thing right now. And, like, there's some interest in them, but, like, by and large, things that are, like, important in genres, first works of developers, first games in series, like, beyond, like, some of the sealed market where you see, like, a Tomb Raider sell for $100,000, like, fucking ridiculous shit like that. They're not the thing that the average video game collector collects. And I'm not saying they ever will be, but if I was looking at things that maybe aren't the most common out there, especially games from, like, the 70s and 80s, that will never change. Like, the first fucking Final Fantasy game will always be Final Fantasy 1. The first platform adventure game, whatever it is, it's probably not Metroid, it's probably, like, Beyond the Root. That's the platform adventure being Metroidvania, the first Metroidvania game. It's something like Beyond the Root on like Apple II or Commodore, whatever the fuck that's on. The first Nobu Uematsu composed game is Cruise Chaser Blasty and always will be, Johnny. And who the fuck cares about any of this? And Johnny, Final Fantasy 1. Final Fantasy 1. Johnny, how big is the fucking Final Fantasy series? Final Fantasy 1. It's the first thing. It's Hulk 181. It's the thing. Final Fantasy 1 on Famicom, it's a $50 game complete in box. Like, decent complete in box, like sometimes like these Super Mint ones sell for crazy money. You can get a decent complete in box Final Fantasy 1 for $50. That's less than Final Fantasy 16! Johnny, there's gonna be a Final Fantasy 17, there's gonna be an 18, there's gonna be a 19, there's gonna be a 20, there's gonna be 3 million Final Fantasy 7 spin-offs. You can get Final Fantasy 1. It will always be Final Fantasy 1. And it's less than Final Fantasy 16. What? We are doing something wrong. We are doing something wrong. That's crazy. That's nuts. It's nuts. What are we collecting? I'm not saying everyone has to collect, like, all this stupid random beyond the root shit that no one's ever heard of, but Final Fantasy 1 costs less than Final Fantasy 16? A game that came out 40 years later? Are we really serious about this right now? That's crazy.
Yes. I mean, I'm a little serious about it. But to give you some context, I do have a Japanese Final Fantasy 1.
What? Imagine if Action Comics 1089, just a random whatever Action Comics came out last week, cost more than Action Comics 1. I realize those are like 80 years apart, but we're talking 40 years apart, and that's exactly the case right now.
Yeah, but I mean, Final Fantasy 16 is going to be in the $10 bin eventually.
I mean, yes.
But
it makes my point. It makes my point funnier. So I don't care. Yes, it's going to be in the $10 bin eventually. But right now, it's cheaper to get a Final Fantasy 1.
True, and you should. You should have a Final Fantasy 1.
I'm not saying everyone needs that, but if you're like a Final Fantasy fan and you've got your Final Fantasy 7 in your collection, you've got your Final Fantasy 10, and you go after like the cool stuff, you got your Final Fantasy 10 with the Square Enix logo on the Black Label PS2 case, that weird middle print in between the Black Label and Greatest Hits where they had like a really small print with the Square Enix logo instead of Squaresoft label. If you're going after that stuff and you don't have a Final Fantasy for $50, it's always, Johnny, it'll always be the thing. I know. This second episode in a row, I'm hyping up the historical games. One day they're going to be a thing. One day, at least some of them will be a thing, Johnny, because they're never changing. They're always going to be what they are.
They will always be that.
This isn't the only thing, but this is my pet category of things that I like. But there are other categories of games that, like, right now are not hyped and are not the thing. And even though video games are the most expensive they've ever been, minus 2 years of a plateau, there are things that are not super common where interests could change and they could become more expensive. And I'm not saying put your money in that instead of the S&P 500. I'm saying if you have information, if you have interest in something that is not hot right now, that is not Earthbound, that is not Crusader of Senti, it could be in your interest to buy it sooner rather than 5 years from now.
I agree with you. I wish you wouldn't hype Final Fantasy, the one game I actually am looking for.
It was a good example because people have been talking about Final Fantasy 16.
I know. Well, that and then that one crazy Final Fantasy sale in Japan. Like, what was that about?
Yeah, like a really... That happens in Japan, and I think we talked about it on the show, but like you get a really common game, or like a somewhat common game. You get your Rockman, you get your Final Fantasy. It will sell for $50 in 7 out of 10 condition, and then like the 9 out of 10 comes up, and the Final Fantasy sold for $900. So...
Yep.
There are Japanese collectors who accept nothing but the best, and they'll pay anything to get it.
Oh, to be a Japanese collector and only care about like 7 games.
Johnny, let me tie up all my points with some predictions here. And I think even if you don't believe me that like people might care about Famicom Final Fantasy one day, or that people will ever figure out variant data, or that like collectors will ever care about variants, because you know what, variants are for crazy niche people, and you know what, I'm just gonna buy a copy of Super Mario Brothers 3 because I don't need the Left Bros TMR whatever date code variant. Johnny, the days of complete in box games costing twice what cartridges cost are gone. They are never coming back. Never. You don't have, this is not like some magical future prediction. That is never coming back. And that is in the recent past. The days of dead mint complete in box games, you setting up a saved search and you finding a dead mint Super Mario RPG for $10 more than a regular copy of Super Mario RPG, that is never coming back. That is just like people figured out that they were wrong, and that is not changing. The days of all those games that got, the complete in box games that got taken off the market and sent in to be grading, like the nicest games in game collecting, those are never coming back to the complete in box market. And like, yes, there are more nice complete in box games out there, but that was like a one-time event that sucked a lot of the nicest stuff out of the market, and it's just basically gone. It's off in this like much higher price tier of graded games that basically you're not buying. So these are all things like the nicest and the most complete stuff is more expensive now. And we're not going back to 2019. We're not going back to 2016. We're not going back to 2008. It's never going to happen. The entire video game collectibles market could crash, and super nice complete in box games are the ones that are going to survive the crash. And they're not going to, like, everything can go to zero. Super nice Super Mario Brothers 3, even like the most common game on earth, is not going to cost $30 again. If a cartridge costs $15. And if a cartridge costs $5, it's certainly not going to cost $10 again. Or $15. It's going to cost $50 at least. I don't know, Johnny. That stuff's not coming back, and that price difference isn't coming back. And that's my main thing I want to say, because this is the thing that came to my mind when I saw someone on Reddit basically complaining that why isn't the game market coming back down? And it doesn't matter if it comes back down. The stuff you want isn't the stuff that's going to be coming back down as much as you want it to.
Yeah, obviously. The best stuff is always going to be the best stuff, and no matter how niche it is, like video game collecting, no matter how niche it is, as long as there's a bunch of people in it, like, and the nicest stuff is available, they're going to snap that off. And we've always said, like, in 2012, people are like, yeah, it's a bubble, it's crashing, we're going back to 2012. Even when we've had crashes and plateaus and I wouldn't call anything like a serious crash, but every time we've even had correction, it never goes back down to that magical place. I don't know what kind of world-ending event would have to happen for us to get back to like 2008 numbers. Also, the economy would be a lot different, because now $20 just isn't what it used to be. So if you think games are going to get down to $30 or, $30 is not $30 anymore in 2008. So like in 2008 money. That's another thing people need to consider. We are well past that. We're 15 years past that and moving on. We're not going back there. So, and if we did, if games literally just became nothing collectibles, there would still be wackos like Tyler and I who are buying them. So the minute all the nice copies became $10 or $20 games, Tyler and I would be buying them. So we would be fighting with each other, and there's more people like us who would still fight us for them, because these aren't just like long-term investments for us. We aren't looking at this in our hot stocks or anything. Like, how'd we do on the market today? So just divorce yourself from that as an idea. It's not happening. Even if a crash happens, it's not ever going that far.
Yeah, and I mean, there are so many games that I used to look at, like nice complete in box stuff, like just super nice stuff that like should not have been sitting on eBay. And I would just be like, well, good thing that's there. I could just go buy that whenever I want. And so many of those copies have just disappeared.
Everything is gone. Nice anything is gone. I told you, because I was looking through Super Nintendo stuff, and I'm like, yeah, I'm going to start upgrading some stuff. And there's just not enough upgrades to be had, or if there is, it's a very high dollar. It's like not even reasonable to upgrade, and all the mid-low grade stuff is just gonna, sit and squalor. You're just not gonna. The price to do it just isn't there, even if you are reselling what you got rid of. So.
Yeah, and I mean, I feel the strongest about cardboard because it is literal garbage. I don't know how to feel about something like Super Smash Bros. Melee, which is still for like a nice black label, probably like a $70 game. And like, there's an unfathomable number of those out there. Like, I could see that, I mean, not going to zero, but I could see that still coming down. Like, there's just way too many copies of that. I don't see an 8 out of 10 Chrono Trigger with the maps and registration card ever hitting 2019 prices again.
No. Hey, let me ask you something. Do you think if we had this theoretical crash where we move back to, well, we won't go 2008 because that's too extreme, but we'll go after the boom to 2012. If we hit 2012 numbers again, do you think more sealed collecting would start to happen again, or do you think keys would still be the dominant thing? Or
More
would no one
sealed
care?
collecting,
No one
set collecting.
Sorry,
No.
set collecting.
See, that's the thing. Yeah, if we hit 2016 prices, whatever you're saying again, Paracadus conflict. I mean, yeah, I think someone will be like, oh, I can finally get Paracadus conflict. But no, all of a sudden, like, everyone will be like, oh, shit, things are back. And the things they're going to push up are the things that now, because of how the tastes and hype have changed over the past 7 years, they'll be going after all different things, and they'll be pushing up the Mike Tyson's Punch-Out, the Left Bros Super Mario Brothers 3s, the Super Mario RPGs, all the good stuff, more or less.
You don't think we'd ever hit some point where people are like, oh man, everything's like $20 again. I can just buy everything. Like, I can have a full set.
See, I don't know. I think on a long enough time scale, I think no one cares about Captain Skyhawk at all. Like, Captain Skyhawk, complete box, whatever, like, that should be $10. The same way, like, the vast majority of comic books and Magic cards are fucking nothing. There's too many of them out there. It's just mass-produced media. It's the bulk. It shouldn't have value.
Yeah, but those mass-produced medias were like $1 and $2 at the time. These were always, a much higher priced item.
I mean, sure. I mean, you could say the same about movies, though. I spent $20 on most of my movies, and I couldn't get $50 for most of them now.
Yeah, but even back then, like, when Zelda 2 was costing like $75 in 1980s money for a new one, like, it's a little different. It's not exactly the same comparison.
I mean, I'll give you that's a little different. I do think as a piece of media, I tend to think that video games have more mental value. Like, I look at a video game and I'm like, wow, there's like 20 hours of entertainment there, compared to a CD or a movie where I'm like, wow, there's an hour or two of entertainment there. And it was a more expensive thing to begin with. But I mean, I still think the vast majority of this stuff is essentially worthless on a long enough time scale with enough video games out there.
Okay.
I mean, I'll disagree with you on that. I think...
No, it's not about agreeing or disagreeing. I was just wondering what your take was.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think we have spent so long, like, looking at the NES set, staring at the same 1,000 games, that we kind of put some kind of importance on all of them. But when we just look at video games, and all of a sudden there used to be, 20,000 video games, and now there's 400,000 video games, and there's going to be 1 million video games, like, whatever the actual numbers are. The more that get put out there, the less each individual game matters on its own. So then all of a sudden every game has to be special for you to bother thinking about it, storing why it's important in your brain, and wanting to own one. And that's why, there's 400,000 comic books that you can't get 50 cents for, because there's just too many comic books and so many of them are meaningless. And I think the more video games that get produced, that's only going to be the same with video games. And that's the reason I don't collect modern video games, why I'm never going to collect like the Switch set, because I think 90% of Switch games are just meaningless. And more than just in a set collecting, like, yeah, I got to collect the chaff when I collect a set. I just think that, like, this is just like mass media crap that was farted out, and no one's going to care in 20 years because there's too much of it.
Okay, I wanted to bring up good answer first. I want to bring up one other thing that I hear gets said to me and get your take on this.
All right.
People go, yeah, well, just like Atari, as collectors get a little older, no one's going to care about Nintendo. But I want to just bring up that Atari and Nintendo are not that far away in age, and the Atari bottoming out happened a lot sooner. Like, they're like, okay, if you said there was like 7 years between Atari and Nintendo, which there was not, right? Especially if you consider, things like the 5200 or and like later Ataris.
I mean, Atari, like, really got kickstarted with Space Invaders, I think, which was 1980. So, like, yeah, it came out in 1977, but when it got, like, the hot arcade ports is when sales picked up, I think.
Okay.
So, yeah, like, really more like 5 years apart.
So, yeah, let's say, when is the crash? 83, 84? Okay. Nintendo is what, 2 years after that? Yep. So let's even be generous. Let's go 5 years. People cared about Nintendo and no one cared about Atari, and there's been a 5-year gap there.
Yeah.
right? Nintendo didn't fall into a trash can. So people bring that point up. So how do you feel about that? Like, does Nintendo get a little longer leniency? So are we saying when it's 10 years removed? Bad news, guys. It's already past 10 years. But just what do you think that has to be? Are we actually going to do that? Is there going to be an aging out of Nintendo, or has Nintendo keeping its very important properties alive and current? Do you think that as will continue to sustain older consoles, even as we see people with collections that don't have any NES games in there?
Yeah, I think NES is going to age out. I'm sorry to say, everybody, we're all going to get old and die, and people aren't going to care about what we cared about. It's just the facts. I know it's Nintendo, and I think that, like, of any console that could have staying power in general, like, NES is the console, and it will always be important. It will always be the most important or top 3 most important consoles of all time.
But what about, okay, but Disney movies haven't aged out.
Yes, but you know what? I grew up watching Bambi and Cinderella and all that shit, and kids these days, they don't grow up playing Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Mike Tyson's Punch-Out.
I mean, I think this is part of Nintendo's new investment strategy, was when they get all these games on the Switch. Before it used to be like, let's keep those old men from having the old games for free because, we don't want to do that. Now I think it's about making sure they're accessible to younger generations to keep the IP alive.
I think it's a sideshow at best. When I sat down to watch Bambi, like, it wasn't like, oh, here, watch this, like, funny distraction from the 1940s or fucking whenever Bambi came out, 1950s. It was like, hey, here's a movie. It's a classic. We're going to watch and enjoy Bambi. And, you're 3 years old, so you're going to love it. And now it's like, oh, if you subscribe to Switch Online, we'll give you Super Mario Brothers, and, like, don't fucking worry about, like, actually experiencing it. We're just going to give you, like, rewinds and save states, and you can play Super Mario Brothers and beat it in 8 minutes and just, like, never think about it again. Like, the real experience playing Super Mario Brothers, you're probably sitting down there for, like, 3 hours. Like, I don't know how long it takes to beat Super Mario Brothers if you've never played it before.
You can beat it. I mean, you can beat it in 8 minutes. Like,
yes, you could beat it in 8 minutes with save states, but Super Mario Brothers sends you back.
I can beat it in 8 minutes. I mean, I can beat Super Mario. Like, if you give me 8 minutes, I can probably go beat Super Mario Brothers.
Grew up on NES. Like,
okay,
people are not going to beat fucking 8-3. 8-3 is a hard level. 8-4 with, like, the maze, that's a hard level. That is going to send people back to the beginning of the game, and kids just don't have patience for that. Like, no one is doing that these days. It's a completely different from Disney. Like, they're 8-minute distractions. They're not serious games that become core memories in people's childhoods.
But what you were saying earlier in this episode is that historical games are important and people are going to keep collecting it.
For what they represent, yes. Yes. Like, I think that the person who is 14 years old now will eventually, if they're a game collector, grow up and want a Super Mario Brothers, a Super Metroid, just because of what they represent, even if they never played those games.
Even though we have a group of people who grew up on those games now raising their kids to know about these games?
I don't think kids I don't think any kid cares about old video games. I mean, all right, if you're like 13 years old and listening to this podcast and you care, like, okay, you're cool, you're the exception, but, like, kids don't care about old games. They're boomer shit.
I mean, even though the Super Mario Brothers movie just, like, crushed the box office.
Even though this, like, Super Mario Brothers is an incredible game. It is kind of uniquely approachable in how good it is and how pick up and play it is. That is not the average Nintendo game. The average Nintendo game is like, it's fucking Metroid. It's fucking Kid Icarus. It's these games that just, like, you pick it up and it destroys you. You don't have fucking graph paper when you're going through Metroid. You're used to your bullet when you shoot it going to the end of the screen when you're playing Metroid. Like, you're not going to have a good time in Metroid. It's just not what you're used to. I think the average person...
Well, just get the wave beam. Don't be...
The average person gets Metroid, they get the ball power up, they go, like, 3 screens, and they're like, this game fucking sucks. And I think it's very different from movies. I think movies held up a lot better to the average audience.
I'm not going to say that movies didn't hold up better and do hold up better. But I think you are... I think maybe minimizing the cultural impact of the properties. They just built a theme park.
So, yeah, sure, the impact of Mario, I think the impact of Mario is much greater than the cultural impact of the actual gameplay of Super Mario Brothers.
Okay. All right. I asked for your take.
And I think Super Mario Brothers is an exceptional example because of how playable it is. I think a lot of older important games. Let's go back to fucking Temple of Apshai. You could be the biggest Baldur's Gate 3 Divinity Original Sin 2 fan that ever existed. 99% of people who go back to Temple of Apshai are going to be like, wow, this is a fucking pile of trash. And you know what? They're probably right.
But what if you were the biggest Uncharted fan and you just went back to Pitfall?
Oh, man, that's a weird genre thing. I bet a kid would have more fun watching The Lion King than they would playing Pitfall.
Sure. Maybe, unless they don't like anthropomorphic animals and find that weird. I just wanted your take. Look, people are going to fight us, so I like the devil's advocate and just ask questions.
I'm in the middle in NES. I think it's the most important system, and it's the first Nintendo system, and I think it's the most important thing, and it will always have clout. But man, look at video game collections. Count the Nintendo games on someone who's like in their teens or 20s. It could be 0.
But is it because those games have also become like the ones they would want to buy are too expensive? Especially in the way that we've told them now we've told people don't buy carts. If you're a collector, you buy it this way. Like, is there just a price hurdle there?
People these days have so many games, Johnny. Like, if someone who collects Xbox 360 games has like 200 Xbox 360 games. So like, if they really wanted to prioritize, they could get a Super Mario 3. They could get a Mike Tyson's Punch-Out. It's just, they don't want it.
I'll help you make your point. Also, like all the dumb special editions they're spending $100 on, you can go get a box Super Mario Brothers.
Like they probably have the Tears of the Kingdom special edition that costs $200, but they don't have a Legend of Zelda.
Yeah.
Which is crazy, by the way. Sell your Tears of the Kingdom limited edition and go get a copy of the Legend of Zelda, guys.
I'm glad
serious here?
We were just saying the same thing. That's hilarious. Like, stop it. All right.
It'll always be the first thing, John. Perfect. All right. I think the Legend of Zelda, even like a weird variant, is probably $200 to $300 for like a version that you're gonna want to showcase in your collection because it's the Legend of Zelda. But that is barely more than the Tears of the Kingdom Collector's Edition, Johnny. And the Legend of Zelda is so much better of a thing. So much better.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
We're hyping the market. As usual, complete box and condition, I'm hyping the most, and obviously history. That stuff's not coming back.
And I'm going to still tell you to buy popular properties because those are if people know what it is, then they're always going to perceive it to have value. As opposed to games like Digger on the NES, which people are going to go, what's Digger?
I'm going to give this episode a 10-year shelf life. If games crash to 2018 prices at all in the next 10 years, come to me, like not price charting cartridge prices or something. If like decent CIB games drop to 2018 prices ever in the next 10 years, you can come to me and tell me I ruined your investment portfolio. But until then, until someone tells me I'm wrong, I'm going to be buying decent to nice complete in-box video games, Johnny.
Also just buy those because at the end of the day, even if those do crash in value, when you look at them, you'll be happy having a nice copy on your shelf. Yeah. If you care about the game. If you care about the investment, well, this is called Collector's Quest, not Investment Quest. So there you go.
Yeah. And everyone, all the people who are listening to the show who are like collecting GameCube and up, like the disc games, like I have no fucking idea what's going to happen with those because I perceive them as so much more common than cardboard, and like that stuff could all come back down. I'm not talking about those games.
One day people are going to care about the shape of inserts. I think people already do a little bit with Genesis, where you learn that these clamshell cases are not the end-all be-all when they start ruining the paper or it like slides up a little bit and like gets bent and shit. Like people are going to start to become a lot more serious about that and having nice ones. Because that stuff is horrible. Like you just like rest something on, you put a soda on that game and then like you didn't realize it was in a shitty case and now you got like a soda dent in your front cover forever. Gross.
Kind of expanding on that, I think the idea of seriously collecting video games will become more popular over time because even people like me and like kind of our group of friends, I think most of us are still more hoarders than like serious, contemplative, thinking about every purchase video game collectors. I think that's somewhat common. If you go into like comics or Pokemon cards,
for sure.
People are really particular about like what Pokemon cards they buy, what comic books and what grade and what whatever minutia with comic books they buy. And I think with video games, it is a bunch of nerds just like tossing money at eBay and going to the flea market and buying whatever's available and posting your pickups on Reddit. And it's like a stack of 7 games. And I think the idea of quote unquote serious video game collecting, it's not a huge thing. And I'm not calling myself a serious video game collector. I'm talking about like the people buying this wad of stuff on eBay, even if you maybe wouldn't call them serious video game collectors.
Like even me, the way I collect video games versus the way I went out and bought comics when I was like, oh, these are the ones I want from my childhood. Like, because video game collecting, I started at a time when you could just go buy whatever. But when I went back to comics, I had to be more particular. I'm like, oh, I want these books from my childhood. These are my favorites. I want them graded. I'm not too particular on the grade. It had to be like an okay shape. But it was a very different buying purchase, like a different decision tree than how I bought video games.
I wonder, right now it just feels like nice, even like decent complete in box stuff for like the most desirable stuff. If it's not Super Mario Brothers 3, it just seems so much less out there than any random graded comic book or card. Like I could probably go on eBay. There's probably like a couple Mox Jets for sale, right? Like imagine, there's not a couple NWCs for sale. I know there's one by SM Pratt probably. I wonder if video game collecting gets serious. Like maybe that stuff comes back to market at a much higher price, but it would be nice to actually have some of this fucking stuff that I want for sale sometime.
One day, Tyler. One day.
But don't worry about that. Just go buy a copy of Final Fantasy. Guys, if you're a Final Fantasy fan, just buy a copy of
Stop telling people to buy it.
Buy a Rockman. Buy a Super Mario Brothers. Buy whatever. The Cruise Chaser Blasty. You Nobu Uematsu fans. Everybody loves Cruise Chaser Blasty. Johnny, I showed you that really nice Cruise Chaser Blasty on After Dark, and I went and I bought it. That's why I'm thinking about Cruise Chaser Blasty.
Okay.
I upgraded my account.
I'm like, you're really on this game.
I know. No one knows what Cruise Chaser Blasty is, but that's why it's the perfect thing to buy right now.
Okay.
All right. Johnny, that's all I got.
All right.
Whatever.
Perfect.
People are disagreeing and think it's all going to zero, and that's great. You know, I hope it does. I hope it does.
Tell us what we missed. Tyler and I sometimes get in the same mind share, so tell us what we missed. Comment on our Facebook and Instagram posts about this episode.
Okay, and Johnny will tell me what we don't have a Facebook post. What are you
That's
talking?
exactly. That was the joke.
We
That's
do.
The joke.
The thing is, we do have a Facebook group, but like I'm not even in there anymore, and we don't post the episodes on there. People have nowhere to post about. People post in the SoundCloud comments, and it's like. I feel like most people are like, SoundCloud comments? Is this where I should be commenting on the podcast? Like, because we don't have a place to comment.
Yeah, we do a very bad job of advertising our episodes. So that was a joke. That was self-referential humor at us. I was taking a dig at us, at our inability to post on social media with any kind of regularity, and your complete inability to do so. Hey, but if you're on the Discord, I've done like an okay job of mentioning that we put a new episode up, so that's a thing. Anyways, who cares? I guess now I can tell you about the Discord since I've mentioned it. Hey, if you want to hang out with all of the people that we talk to and a lot of great knowledgeable collectors, and myself and Tyler, we don't count ourselves in that group, but our Discord has a lot of those people. Excellent people. We got the best people. Very Trumpy right there. Didn't mean to be. That's not a political statement. It's just a vocalization of a vocal pattern. Anyways, join us by going to our Patreon and going to patreon.com/collectorsquest. For as little as $2, that gets you in the door on Patreon. $4 gets you the After Dark. And that's it. Don't subscribe at $6. Thanks so much for listening to my TED Talk. All right, Tyler, let's move on to the other part of the show.
Johnny NZ Collector asks, when's the So You Want to Collect Fountain Force 2 episode? We need some New Zealand stuff on the show. Johnny, do not Google anything right now. What is Fountain Force 2?
It's the sequel to Fountain Force.
Okay, see, I was sure Fountain Force 2 was a New Zealand exclusive video game. No, it's a New Zealand exclusive video game console, Johnny. Johnny, the Fountain Force 2, released in Australia and New Zealand, is a licensed version of the 1292 Advanced Programmable Video System by Radifin.
What year was this thing made?
I don't know, but the Radifin thing was 1976, so this is pre-Atari ancient bullshit. We're in like Fairchild Channel F land of garbage, and this is a New Zealand Australian exclusive.
Yeah, it's
I
like
love
1984.
It. I've never remotely heard of this thing.
Are you putting this on your save search? Are you
Absolutely not. No.
Okay, yeah. Sorry. Sorry, New Zealand people. You were underrepresented in collecting and also with this console, which I'm looking at, and it just, I don't even want to look at it. Everything pre-Nintendo hurts my faith in the world.
Are we the first podcast on the entire internet to ever say the words Fountain Force 2, let alone actually talk about it?
I mean, there's what, like 3 video game podcasts?
Yeah, that's it. It's the CU podcast, the Game History Hour, and us. That's it.
I mean, those people probably said it, right? They had to have. Someone brought it up to them.
It looks, this isn't surprising. It looks comparable to the Odyssey 2. I don't know. It could be cool. Look into the Fountain Force 2. I'm going to look into the Fountain Force 2 after this episode, Johnny.
Okay, who mentioned? You didn't say who asked that question.
That was MZ Collector. I did mention.
Okay. Oh, did you? I didn't hear you say that part. Okay.
Sorry,
MZ Collector.
Final
MZ.
Fight. Damn it, Johnny.
Final Fight
CD. If I remember correctly, both of you started collecting in the mid-2000s. I started a few years later, but from what I remember, everybody was a full set collector. It was just the cool thing to do. Do you feel like your initial collecting habits were influenced by the times? Like, hypothetically, if you had to start over again in 2023, do you still think you would go towards collecting everything you get your hands on? I'm pretty sure the answer is no. So why not? Why did you do it to begin with?
Okay, do you want to go first or shall I?
I'll go first, Johnny. I started collecting when I was like 15, maybe. I'm an impressionable youth. So yeah, obviously when I'm getting on like these forums with these Atari and Nintendo collectors, and like it's either very serious Atari collectors or very serious NES collectors, and like everything else is like, man, talk about a side project. Like, yeah, like Super Nintendo, you can go for some other stuff, but like no one's collecting N64 and beyond that. So yes, obviously I was influenced by the times to become a set collector back then, even though, you know, I'm collecting cartridge sets because I'm working at Burger King, but very much influenced by the times. The thing is, I can't say what I would do in 2023. Having like whatever, however many years, 15 years of experience doing this, like, yeah, obviously I wouldn't become a full set collector now. Now I think like targeting specific things you want is a much more enjoyable way to collect things, and have like, instead of having a horde of absolute garbage filling every void of your house, maybe like targeting each individual thing you want and knowing that every single thing you own is something you specifically wanted, maybe a better way to collect. The problem is, when I started collecting and I had nothing, even before this, and this was, 2005, so there were way less video games, but I wanted everything I didn't have, and like, if I starting in 2023 with nothing, and you just say like, go get every game that matters, ever, I still want everything. So maybe I wouldn't be collecting sets, but I still think I would be more of like a hoarder collector if I was starting over from scratch, just because my mindset would be like, oh my God, there's so many games I don't have. There's so many cool games. I just want to own all the cool games. And I don't think that's like the best way to collect. I think if you have $1,000, like maybe get 10 of like the best video games rather than $1,001 video games. So I would ideally want to collect how I collect now if I started over, but I don't think I would.
Okay. So do I think being in a group, in that group that was doing set collecting influenced me? Sure. Yeah. I mean, that group think is real. A good psychological effect. You could talk about contiguity being there, or like just proximal relationships. Also, just and if you watch any child group play together, just imitation and social acceptance and, wanting to be part of the team, you pull in the same direction as the team to let a group know that you are with them, not against them, especially if you were trying to be invited in. So do I think that that influenced me? Of course. I mean, that would be crazy to think otherwise. And I think that's still happening in every group that kind of exists, for the most part. As far as set collecting, would I go back and do it again? Hey, I haven't stopped set collecting. I still buy all this horrible, stupid garbage. I haven't changed my mind. Tyler's answer, that's some weak ass bullshit. Okay, that's for quitters. Okay? Tyler's a quitter. And here I am. Stefan, he got out of the game too. He quit. All you set collector quitters, you fucking babies, cowards, nut up and get back in the game. All right?
Get in on Game Boy Color. Who's collecting Game Boy Color? It's the rarest, most interesting Nintendo console. How many Game Boy Color games are that you can't find on eBay right now? It's probably the most of any Nintendo console.
Stop talking about things I'm collecting actively, goddamn you. All right. Yeah, what am I doing? I'm still buying everything. Yeah, talk me out of it. I don't have any sense. Now, if we're talking about what I should do, I should definitely, and what you guys should do, this is really a do as I say, not as I do. Yeah, definitely just pick the stuff that's important to you and that you think is cool. But the problem is, with me, is I think everything is cool, Tyler. I think all of these dumb games are cool. I'm the guy who is out there posting pictures of 25 Barbie games because I'm like, look at all these dumb Barbie games. Do you know what I was doing before this episode? I was looking at the Sesame Street Atari games because I'm like, how cool are all these Sesame Street games that exist? Wouldn't it be great to have all of these and just look at them?
They come in some pretty great yellow boxes too, and they look nice as a set.
They do, and they're hard to find nice, except for the case pack ones. Fine, you can find Cookie Monster, but go find Oscar. Go find a nice boss. You're just not going to do it. Okay? Nice, beautiful, primary color. Beautiful. Go. That's so cool. Anyways, yeah, I've got a sickness. I'm doomed. Okay? I'm doomed. I'm a sinking ship. Abandon it. Don't do this.
See, as we're talking about, I mean, this isn't really a financial advice episode as much as I do think it's a good time to buy certain video games that you would want right now. The people who succeed in things like flipping comics, flipping cards, are the people who can identify specific things that are like going to be the hyped things, or like, in particular conditions, things like that. Someone who would buy 15 copies of Hulk 181 15 years ago, 20 years ago. When I was seriously collecting comics, I was like, fucking, no one talks about Superman's Superman's pal, Jimmy Olsen, and this comic fucking rules. And so I went in like a spiral of like, what if I bought every Superman's pal, Jimmy Olsen, that I possibly could, besides the ones that are like hundreds of dollars. So I have dozens and dozens of the non-key issues of Superman's pal, Jimmy Olsen. Like,
excellent.
I think too many things are cool, which is what would make me like a bad speculator in any of these collectible markets.
So people ask me, they're like, oh, well, if you knew so much, then why didn't you make a ton of money off of video games? It's like, yeah, I knew what was cool. The problem is I also thought everything else was cool. Could I have told you that? And I did. You can go back to old episodes of this podcast where I told you to just buy Super Mario and Zelda. Who gives a shit about all the other stuff? Buy the popular stuff that people are going to care about and have nostalgia for. And hey, look where we are. It's the most right I've been about anything ever, to my own detriment. But
and you're still buying like PS Vita
I'm
games.
Still buying the dumb shit because I love it. I love it, Tyler. So that's why I say, do as I say, not as I do, because I'm a fucking idiot, okay? This is like mental health level bullshit that I do, but I'm not sad about it. People are like, oh, no, don't be sad for me. I love this. I love looking at these dumb piles of games. I don't ever walk in my office and just be like, oh yeah, I hate all this. I mean, I do, because I'm a human being, and it's like, oh, I have so much stuff and there's no room to fit any of this stuff. But really, that's just my space constraints speaking, Tyler. Because if I just had a warehouse and I never had to worry about it being like cluttered, if I just had a giant, like, I don't know, 5,000 square foot warehouse that was attached to the back of my home, where I could just put all of my games on beautiful shelves and then just walk up and down the aisles sometimes, I would fucking do that. And I would never think, oh man, the space, this is I'm speaking strictly out of space constraints. And also the rising prices would lead me to also do that. But again, if I had a bunch of extra money and a bunch of extra property and space to put it, I would just I would die as a rich, weird millionaire, and you'd come in and you'd be like, what the fuck is anyone going to do with all of these games? I don't know what the fuck this is. Is this an archive? I don't know. And that's like my dream. Just he died with a beautiful archive. But I'm wrong. So, yeah, I'm wrong. Don't do that.
You could see for more information, see the end of Citizen Kane, where they're throwing all of Kane's bullshit into an incinerator because he has so much fucking garbage.
Yeah, they're going to be like, Outback Joey. What is that?
All right. No, Johnny, we got a bunch of stuff. So what are you buying? What are you playing?
Tyler, I bought so much stuff.
Oh, good. Let's have a Johnny got cool shit episode. What's going on?
Well, I'd say it's not cool stuff. You're gonna hate it. I bought a bunch. I bought a bunch of Game Boy Color stuff.
Yeah, the best console. Everyone should be collecting this.
And I bought a bunch of GBA stuff. And Mr. CIB sent me some Game Boy games that I didn't have. We got some trades going on there. Hey, I got Haunted House for the TRS-80 for a Halloween game, Tyler.
Oh, Johnny, really? The one in the big baggie that probably there isn't a copy on eBay? Wow, that's a pretty uncommon and interesting game.
It is. Thanks for telling me about it. It also has a cool picture of a haunted house on it. Hey, Tyler, I also bought, and I didn't realize when I was looking at the Sesame Street games that I was going to have to say this, but I may have bought Sesame Street, Elmo and Grouchland for the Game Boy Color. I forgot I bought this, but I definitely saw it and went, oh man, I don't have all the Sesame Street games on Game Boy Color. And this was a thought 2 weeks ago when I bought this. So just saying, I bought Spider-Man 2 on the Game Boy Color, Snow White on the Game Boy Color, Atlantis, filled in some Disney games, The Jungle Book. Hey, I bought Pitfall.
Which one of the 75 Pitfall games did you buy?
Oh, so this is Pitfall Beyond the Jungle.
That doesn't even sound like a real video game.
For the Game Boy Color. Hey, I bought a Shrek game, Mega Man Battle Network. Hey, just a shout out to this guy, Retrospec_81 on eBay. He had a bunch of cool stuff and he worked with me on prices on stuff, even though it was on eBay, so that was cool of him. I got MotoGP, Nicktoons Attack of the Toy Bots, Rayman, Power Rangers game, just a bunch of garbage. I bought 20 games from him or something. And then I went on a weird late night bender and I bought pop-up books, Tyler, which I don't need to talk about, but it was just...
What are we doing? Harry Potter pop-up books?
No, not Harry Potter pop-up books. So I have a library for my son. Have I talked about this before? Where I just build him a library. Yeah. So I do this, and I thought these were really cool, and he's been into pop-up books. So I just stick stuff on shelves that are high enough because he goes in and just peruses his books. He enjoys them, then goes and pulls them out. So I just get new ones and stick them on the shelf and move stuff around so he finds new stuff. So I'm like, oh man, he's into pop-up books, and they've got horror-themed pop-up books. Are you kidding me? I didn't know about these. And I'm just like, oh man, of course you want, here's a couple of the titles. How cool is this? Some Bodies in the Attic. Get it? Some bodies in the attic. The Ghosts of the Creepy Castle. The Weirdies of Wailing Woods. The Things in Moldy Manor. The Door Under the Stairs. And they've all got creepy covers. It's great, Tyler. I found 8 of them and I'm just yep, let's go spend $100 on weird pop-up books.
You can't just buy one of something, Johnny.
See, this is my problem. I could have just said, this is a cool one for my son. I'll buy one and he'll enjoy it. Instead, I bought fucking 8 of them, Tyler. And it was at 3 a.m. when I was doing this. So some people say, don't drink and shop. I just don't be up late when your brain is fucking impaired and be on eBay. You'll just do weird shit. I just fall into rabbit holes because I have insomnia. Insomnia cost me a lot of money. Also, I just found a pop-up book called Ghost Train now that I'm interested in. Come on, man. Ghost Train? Really? Free shipping? $7? But I just bought it.
John, books, I talk about how there's too many video games, so kind of none of them individually matter unless there's something really interesting about them. Johnny, there's a lot of books. You might say that there's centuries of books, so most of them don't matter. You can't collect them all, Johnny. Stop trying. There's too many.
No. So the cool thing I do with books is just buy the my favorite books, and then like maybe I get one of those signed, but I don't go all in on every book that ever was a book.
If I collect a book, I have to have read it, and like you can literally only read so many books in your lifetime, so like that's a really good rule to have on books.
Yes. Yeah. And I've read a lot of books, unfortunately, so that could be a big, wide bookshelf full of books. Anyways, Tyler, and I played Diablo. That's what I did. I played Diablo.
Johnny, I do want to give everybody an update that Pitfall Beyond the Jungle is the Game Boy Color version of Pitfall 3D Beyond the Jungle on PlayStation, but it is an entirely different, unique game. So when you're making your Pitfall list, make sure you don't include those as one entry. They are two separate entries, Pitfall Beyond the Jungle and Pitfall 3D Beyond the Jungle.
I mean, and this is why Guinness lists are bullshit, because they're like, oh, maybe it's the same game. These aren't the same game, even cross-platform. If we're going to talk about the minutia of fucking date chips on games, let's talk about revision updates, and let's talk about what you had, different things that had to be done for PlayStation versus Xbox games. I don't want to hear it. They're not the same game. Also, you can't call a Game Boy Color game the same as a GameCube game. Please stop it. These are not the same titles. It's this, like, even on comparable consoles, like if I said, hey, Tyler, I have Casper for the Super Famicom and for the Super Nintendo, you'd be like, surely, Johnny, those are the same game. I can't give you credit for both of them. You have a Casper game. No, they're not even the same game, Tyler, so you can't even trust it from separate regions. Anyways.
I like that the criteria you're giving on whether it counts as someone from Guinness who doesn't know fucking anything about video games came over. Because that's really what matters, that Guinness is getting this wrong.
Well, I'm just saying, look, everyone should try to get it right. But look, when you have these authoritative bodies, right? And when you get a Guinness Book of World, which is just marketing bullshit, they post big fucking pictures of it and it gets a video on the internet and news channels pick it up. And then you got this fucking weird criteria and bad information flowing into the market. And Guinness is a perpetrator. They are the current enemy. Okay? They're just one of many current enemies, but they're on the enemy list, Tyler. Also, It's weird to have an enemy list if you're an adult. Like, who has enemies? Like, you can have people you don't like, but enemies? That's weird. Like, this is not a fantasy dungeon, and I am not trying to slay you or, like, find you in Mortal Kombat. So,
Johnny, probably the trashiest thing I watch on YouTube is police interview videos. And they always ask, like, oh, did the person who got murdered have any enemies? And I'm like, who the fuck has enemies? What does that even mean?
Do we live in some weird privilege where we're just like, enemies? What do you mean you have enemies? Like, you could have people you dislike or neighbors you don't like, but like straight up enemies? Like you've committed being an enemy to someone and they are also acknowledge you as their enemy. That's a weird commitment. You were in a relationship,
right?
And then you have to engage in that relationship for it to be maintained. You have to maintain enemyship. That's fucking weird. Who has time for that? I'm not in.
It's crazy.
Anyways, I'm glad we're on the same page there. Who has enemies?
All right, let me talk about what I got.
Yeah, please.
Norm, the gaming historian. Fucking Norm. Johnny, there was a guy at Portland Retro Gaming Expo this year, and he had a bunch of Channel F cartridges. A complete box Channel F games.
Please tell me you didn't buy Channel F bullshit.
And they were like $15 to $25. And it was like a smattering of random ones. And like, I don't care about Channel F. But it's the first video game cartridge, and he had Video Cart 1, and it was $20. And I'm looking at it, and I'm like...
You love history. Okay.
I don't want to spend... It's not that I didn't want to spend $20 on it. I was like, I don't want to spend the room in my backpack on a fucking Channel F game. But, literally, I just said this on the episode, but I still do it. It's one of those things in my mind, like, I will always be able to get a Video Cart 1 whenever I want, because who the fuck cares about Fairchild Channel F? And then Norm the gaming historian goes and he makes a Fairchild Channel F fucking video, and the title of the video is The First Ever Video Game Cartridge.
Oh, God.
And it's like, oh, all of a sudden, maybe there's 300,000 people who are like, I wonder how much it would cost to own the first ever video game cartridge. And it's like, this is how the things that you think will always be available for the same price could turn on a dime. So right after he posted that video, I go on eBay, and there's a copy, like a really nice complete in box for $15. So I got that.
Snap that one off as quick as possible.
Actually, shipped, it was cheaper than the one at Portland. So that really worked out for me.
Now have you looked back on your investment? Did you make a wise decision?
It was like $16 shipped. I wouldn't sell a video game for $12 shipped. It's just not worth it to like run to the fucking store. The cheapest one on eBay right now, Johnny, it's got a giant sticker over the front and it's $30 shipped. So I'm doing better in the S&P 500 right now.
You're doing pretty good.
Fairchild Channel F games, like I'm sure I know there are like really weirdly expensive ones, but like the random ones that are available, and I'm sure it changes all the time, but like $20 to $35 for like a Fairchild Channel F game? Who the fuck has Fairchild Channel F games? Like, where do you get them? You can't go to a video game store and buy a Fairchild Channel F game. I feel like these should be more expensive. If a laser active disc can be like just $500 just because it's a laser active disc, why the fuck aren't Fairchild Channel F games $200?
I don't know.
I mean, maybe they're more common than I think, but I don't think they are.
There's just a bunch of people with Fairchild systems out there just getting so hot and sweaty for all the things you're saying. You're like, yes, yeah, make them $200. How do I share that Norm video?
Like, I mean, this Video Cart 8, how many people have Video Cart 8? And I think the higher numbers are rare, but like $35 or Video Cart 8, go get it. Go get it. God, get into Fairchild. This guy has 4 feedback. He doesn't know what this thing's worth. He's just putting up a buy it now. Go get it. I'm hyping Fairchild Channel F. I'm not buying any more of these because I got one. The thing is, I only wanted one because I just wanted a representation of the Channel F, and like one would be the one to get. And fucking Norm goes and hypes
you did the thing we just said. Just buy one. You don't need them all. You did it.
Yeah.
And people are going to think it's weird, but I did have, it was the first set I ever completed, Tyler, because somebody sold me the whole set, and I sold it immediately. I was just, it was like a local purchase, and I was like, I don't fucking hate this. Also, I also sold a bunch of Neo Geo stuff I had back in the day, because I'm like, I hate this. I'm never going to collect Neo Geo. And I've stuck to my guns on both of those. Feeling good about it.
All right. Good call. Neo Geo, overrated. Man, I don't...
Neo Geo is the most overrated console of all time. All time, the most overrated system of all time. You might say it's Nintendo, but it is Neo Geo, and all the people in the Neo Geo forums, come fight me. Look, I know you're only good for passive-aggressive comments in your forums, so the fuck out of here in real life.
Okay. Johnny, I think we have enemies of NeoGeo.com.
Yeah,
we are the enemies.
We'll make it. I'm trying. I was committing to the bit. Did it work?
It worked.
Okay, cool.
Johnny, you failed to bring up something that we both purchased.
Oh.
Johnny, I bought a complete in box copy of Bulls vs. Blazers and the NBA playoffs for the Sega Genesis.
Mine hasn't arrived yet. That's why I'm
okay.
Did yours come already?
Mine already came.
Mine arrives tomorrow, but go on.
So, I think of any console, even over like NES and like PC games, I think I know Genesis variants as an overall set the best, because like as deep as I am into like knowing some weird shit about Nintendo games, I actually have a complete in box Genesis set. And like I don't have a complete in box NES set, I don't have a complete in box Super Nintendo set. Like I have gone through it with Sega Genesis, so my spreadsheet that I personally made for Sega Genesis is full of a bunch of weird fucking details. And you showed me a version of Bulls vs. Blazers that I had no idea existed. And it's not even that rare, numerically. But I didn't know this existed. So if you bought Bulls vs. Blazers at KB Toys, you got an exclusive baseball card with it, or a basketball card with it. It's just the NBA logo with a hologram with the EA Sports logo in the background. And then on the back of the card...
insert that's in there. It's like there's also like a 2x size of that. That's just like a non-foil insert of the same thing. It's just the NBA logo. I said logo really weird there. I don't know what happened. Anyways, go on. Tell them about the back of the card.
Yeah. The back of the card says, hey, this is one of 50,000, so not at all rare. But if you buy an EA Sports game at KB Toys, you get this cool card. And I don't know if it was in the case or they handed it to you with the game. And I don't know if any other games came with it. But both of us got Bulls versus Blazers, and there's only 50,000 of them, and Bulls versus Blazers definitely sold more than 50,000, so I wouldn't be surprised if Bulls versus Blazers is the only game this card came with. And I thought it was really cool. You got yours for $10. Amazing deal. I bought mine for $36, but the only reason I paid so much is that it came with the KB Toys receipt, and I just thought that was so cool to get the KB exclusive card with the receipt.
I'm going to say that's cool. I love having old receipts in games.
Yeah. And like Bulls vs. Blazers, even on the spectrum of sports games, is like outrageously common, like less than $10 shipped for a complete in box. So you can get that. And then there are a couple copies of this card just up on eBay for $15. If you just search for like KB Toys NBA. Anyway, super cool. Show me a Genesis variant that I've never even remotely heard of. I showed it to Josh Byerly and he's like, yep, I've never seen this before. Now I need one. And now we're hyping it to the world for the people who collect Genesis sports game variants. So like VG Collectaholic's going to hear about this and be like, oh yeah, I can go get that. That's cool. And everyone else is like, Genesis.
Daddy Mulk didn't know about it either.
Yeah, Daddy Mulk didn't know about this. Our guy who corrects us on Sega stuff didn't know about this. That's how weird and obscure it is. And there's 50,000 of them. Like there were like at least 4 of these cards on eBay. So like not obscure. But I don't know. I've never seen it. I bet like sports cards people knew about this more than video game people knew about this.
100%. So I had a really good talk with Daddy Mulk about this, and we did like an after dark, which, hey, the Craig bot failed, and I have to manually edit that. Anyways, we had a nice conversation about Genesis variants, and we say he corrects us, and he does, and we appreciate that. Like, that's not us being petty about it. Like, we 100% should be corrected. If you know something we don't, we always say, let us know. No, seriously, let us know. But, yeah, we had a nice talk about Sega Genesis variants, and I thought for sure he was going to know about this one, because I feel that way. Anytime I find a variant, I'm like, I found a variant. Daddy Mulk probably knows. Oh, yeah, he knows. But this was a weird one. Got past me, got past you. Daddy Mulk, all of our big variant guys did not know about this.
Love me a good Genesis insert, Johnny.
Yeah,
way more cool stuff on Genesis than NES.
Yeah, anyways,
at least back then.
Go find that. That's a fun one.
Johnny, I've been playing a lot because of the Steam sale, and I've just been buying a bunch of cool stuff. But Johnny, I already talked about this on After Dark. I need to give a quick shout out. I know no one cares. Getting Over It with Bennett Foddy, a meme game from 6 years ago. This is like the best video game I've played since Zelda Breath of the Wild. So my ideal video game is a game that takes you like 5 hours to beat the first time, like an hour and a half to beat the second time, and then once you know what you're doing, it's like 20 minutes. And that is exactly what this game is. And it's perfect because the joke of the game is that the controls are quote unquote like awful and terrible, but really the controls are just unique. And it's something that no one has ever played before, because you've never played a platform game where you control a hammer with the mouse to climb a mountain. It's a ridiculous control scheme. But it makes you feel completely helpless, so everyone kind of starts at the same page. Like, no one, it's not like, you know, I've played a first-person shooter before, so I could play any first-person shooter, I know what I'm doing. I've played a side-scrolling platformer before, so I play any of them, and I know what I'm doing. It's a genre of platformer that no one has ever played before. And then, after you've played it for 5 hours, all of a sudden, you're like, oh, these controls aren't garbage. This game actually fucking rules. And, like, I don't think I've felt this way about like the difficulty curve and overcoming a difficulty curve of a video game since like Ninja Gaiden 3. Because like Ninja Gaiden 3, it takes 5 hours to slog through it. It's really hard the first time, and then you could just like kind of do it like riding a bike. So just to say, if you think Getting Over It with Bennett Foddy was just like a meme for streamers to like make fun of them for falling, it's like a game where like you fall and you could lose an hour of progress type deal. I'd give it a chance as a real video game. I think it's excellent. It like maybe a masterpiece, as weird as it is to say that. And I bet like people who don't play PC games might not even know what this game is. I don't think you know what this game is.
Nope. I do not know what that is.
Johnny, you play a guy, a naked guy in a cauldron with a hammer, and you climb a mountain by swinging the mouse, and the hammer catches on the side of the mountain.
Okay.
Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, sounds terrible.
All right. Anyway, thought I would give it a very, very strong recommendation.
Okay. All right, is that it? Did we do it?
That's it. I think we did it. You should stop listening and just go buy all the video games of your dreams right now. Because if they are cheaper, I don't think they're going to be that much cheaper.
I'm going to do a does it count for you, because we're talking about what are video games, and we failed on that episode, but I want to bring this back. Okay, I just want to know if these count as video games. And we talked about doing an episode on this, so...
Just period, straight up, are they video games? This is what we need to decide if it counts?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Is it a video game? Vivid Interactive had fully interactive CD porn games. Are they games?
No, not at all. Also, I'm not going to lie, I watched one this year, and it was really bad. But I do kind of enjoy them.
Why isn't it a game?
It's a video. It's basically a DVD. Also, if you don't know what we're talking about, so there's softcore porn, like the softest core porn. Holy shit. These are like the least erotic videos of all time. But because of that, they're kind of entertaining. I do want to give a shout out specifically to Blonde Justice, which I think is the most entertaining of the very, very softcore porn 3DO quote unquote games. All right. No, they're not. They're just, they could be called video CDs. I don't know. That's an actual format, so they're not video CDs, but that's what they are. The same way like Compton's Encyclopedia is not a game. I think it counts for the Sega CD set as a piece of software, but it is not a game. Taboo the Sixth Sense is not a video game.
Okay. I've never seen one, but I came across them, and I'm like, man, because I was doing some research, and yeah, I know how that sounds. Doing some research on the internet, I found some porn. Yeah, thanks. Thanks, all you sweaty bastards. No, I did come across them when I was looking that up, and I was like, do these count? My inclination was they do not count, but I was wondering if there's an argument could be made, so I wanted to throw that. Does it count at the end? I like to do a does it count.
Okay, all right. So you asked me, does it count as a video game? To which I would say strongly no. Does it count for the 3DO set? I would say yes.
Yeah. Well, these are not for the 3DO. So there are more than just for the 3DO. These are just like playing your computer.
Oh, all right. I mean, that makes sense. But
and so like what struck me on this one, and this is not to my taste and not against anyone, but there is a sticker in the corner of them that says CD-ROM games, and it says this one specifically says the interactive adult brain game, and it's called Man Parts.
Man Parts?
Man Parts. Some of them from Vivid Interactive claim to be a game. Others are just interactive videos. So I'm like, where do we draw the line here?
Well, all right,
because it says game, like this one says it's a game, so okay, it's a game. The other ones are just have interactive scenarios. But does that mean Dragon's Lair is not a game because it just has interactive moments where you it's basically QuickTime events?
I mean, no, this is so I'm just looking at the CD case for Man Parts, but I mean, it looks like there's like jigsaw puzzles is like the game, and they're jigsaw puzzles of half-naked men.
It's called Man Parts. I think they got it.
This is fucking awesome. Like, American adult games are already so obscure, but to see one targeted for a female audience or like a gay audience, that's like really rare. You don't see that. Yeah. That's awesome.
Yep. Hey, it's a thing you can go buy for $195.
I'm looking at it. I'm looking at this guy in his bulging blue Speedo. See, the most disappointing thing about this jewel case is what I'm looking at is like I can almost tell from knowing Vivid Interactive, this game doesn't even have nudity in it. That is how disappointing it would be to actually play this fucking adult jigsaw puzzle game. Like, I won't even get to see a dick, Johnny.
You probably won't. But you could try. Also, there's a game called Winner Takes All, and like I was looking at it from Vivid Interactive, and I thought it was 100% Wiener Takes All, and it wasn't. It was winner Takes All. And I'm like, and it shows like a roulette board, and I'm like, okay, is this one a game? And it's like, no, I think this is just interactive. Some say game, some don't. Yeah, anyways, there's this weird branch of would-be games and not games that sit very close to each other. And I'm still not out, like, because, again, interactive, like fully interactive, is just QuickTime events to me. And like, do we call a full QuickTime game a game?
Yes. Oh, 100%.
Okay.
User input and there's a way to win. That is totally a video game.
I mean, isn't like in these interactive videos, there's a way to get a girl naked and a way to not if you don't interact correctly?
No, these like the Vivid ones, like the 3DO ones, they're literally just videos.
I don't know how these work, so I've not.
Oh, I'm very familiar. I think we should do an adult games episode because I love American adult games. They are so obscure, Johnny.
You put it in the doc, and that's why I'm like, yeah, we should.
Oh, did we? Okay, yeah, because I've played a lot of American adult games, and like, don't think I'm like some weirdo. Like, 90% of them are like Atari 2600 games. Like, there are so few of them that I find them so interesting.
Me too. Well, yeah, we've talked about them before.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's all right. Good. All right, porn coming to you in 3 or 4 episodes, guys. Look forward to it.
Yep, it's on the dock. Anyways, okay. So that's it for the show. Thank you all so much for listening. I'm Johnny _Iucci. You can find me on Instagram-ish, kind of. Mainly, you can find me on Discord. Hey, Tyler, where can we find you? Tyler, where'd you go? Tyler,
I'm on the Discord. John, you can hit me up on the Matrix Network. I'm Tyler Public at matrix.org. You know, look, 3 people are like, oh, I've heard of that.
Yep. Anyways, I'm not here to judge you for that. I'm just happy we have a way to communicate that isn't Facebook. I'll take it. I told you, whatever you did that wasn't Facebook, I would take it, right? And I have not.
I know. You see, you only had Facebook for me, so you know what? I'm happy that you were easy to switch over.
Yeah. It's like, look, if I have to maintain an app for Tyler, that's fine. Like, now I can just get rid of that one, and that feels a lot better. Anyways, that's it for the show. Again, if you want to hear more, go ahead and find that After Dark by becoming a member of the Patreon at the $4 level. Anything else, Tyler, before we go? Anything? You got anything?
Yeah, let me give a shout out to the Japanese 3DO game, 3DO series Virtual Cameraman, which is it's basically pornographic Pokemon Snap, and like, forget the porn part about it. It's a genuinely fun game.
Okay. And hey, thanks to everyone who thank you to everyone who listens and supports this show regularly. We do appreciate it that we get to come and make these ridiculous episodes, and that you all keep coming back from. Thanks so much. Have a nice night, and well, you've already had it, but I hope your 4th of July was nice. All right, bye.
Oh man, look at that. Under 2 hours. That
I know.
Breezy episode.